Jadi Lakabakabi, Lamekahia Kabab, Various Anakanakari.
1692. A hostile land. The Puritans thought of North America as the devil's territory.
She must be under some evil hand. By the unity of pious Puritans in New England, anyone and everyone among them might be a witch.
You could be accused, tortured, and executed on the basis of nothing more than gossip and superstition. Is Salem besieged by Satan's witches? Or by madness? What drove the persecutors to such awful ends? And what was it like for the victims who were tortured and executed?
Look me in the eye.
All right, so I am Brother Chris, and we got somebody else joining us today. She's going to be popping in and out with Gypsy Lady Eva. So we have the wickedest witch. I don't know if she's really wicked, but she is a witch. So this is Witchy Witch. So, and also Gypsy Lady is also popping in and out. So how are you, Gypsy Lady?
Gypsy Lady is doing good.
And how do you know the witch?
Why do you ask such crazy questions?
So yes. So today we're going to be starting a new subject altogether. This is actually the time of year right now. It happens 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But we're going to go back to the earlier times of America. So let's transfer back and we'll see exactly what we can come up to. So yes, we'll be right back after this. Alrighty, so I don't know why they're still clapping, but thank you. Alrighty, so yeah, we're going back to the earlier times, actually, of, let me turn that off. Yeah, so we're going back to the earlier times, actually, of America. We're going to go back to right when the settlers actually came over on the Mayflower, and they landed pretty much close to Salem, Massachusetts, which is well known for witches. We're going to take a look, actually, at the real meaning of witches, and this is going to go on for up till our Halloween special show. Yeah, so Witchy Witch, how are ya?
I'm doing fine.
Yes. So when did you actually come over here to North America?
What year is it?
It's 2024.
Oh my. Time for coffee break.
All right. So Gypsy Lady Eva?
Yes.
Yeah, would you like to sort of explain to people what we're actually talking about?
Well, the Salem Witch trials, I think practically everybody's heard about it, especially, especially those that are into the Halloween spirit. And it goes back to the mid 1600s, late 1600s, actually. And where it all started, though, I mean, this is the most famous place for the witch trials, although witch trials were something that took place actually throughout Europe. I believe it got started in the early 1600s in Germany, in the outlying areas where paganism was still practiced. And at that time, anyone who wasn't a Christian was a pagan, and any pagan was a witch or a warlock. Although you don't hear a lot about warlocks, you hear more about witches because, after all, women had no rights at that time. Women's roles was very defined. You stepped outside that line, you were suspicious. And you could have all kinds of things happen to you.
I wonder what. Do you know what could happen?
What do you mean, what happened?
Well, you said things could happen to you. What could happen?
Oh, all kinds of things. You could be burned at the stake. You could be hung. You could be pressed to death. And I don't think they did it to women, but you could be drawn and quartered. One of the favorite ones they like to do is tie you to a horse and let you drag behind the horse running at full speed.
Yes.
I'm sure that did wonders for the complexion.
Yeah.
And if you survived, well, okay. Another one was you were dipped, thrown into a river, lake, or whatever. If you sunk, I think it is if you sunk, you didn't have anything wrong, but if you floated, you were a witch. And of course, a lot of women drowned from that one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all these kinds of things could happen. So it pretty much kept the women in line. And men were involved, but not in the same way. They had, I don't even know how to explain it, but they also were kind of involved, but it was more of the outlying areas where Christianity didn't have much of a foothold.
Yes.
Type thing.
Yeah.
And anyway, it went from Germany to France, and France is where it really spread. And it went to England, where the Protestants, or the Puritans, were in charge, so to speak. It was a very, very conservative time. Again, it goes back to everybody had their role, had it laid out. This is what you did. This is what you didn't do. And if you stepped outside that role, again, you were held in suspicion, and you were held in contempt because you didn't live up to, or you didn't do what you were supposed to be doing. And supposedly this was all outlined and laid out in the Bible, although I doubt if they could really give you the actual biblical citations as to what women are supposed to and not supposed to do. Which, if you look at the Bible, it really doesn't say that much, and it gives women a lot more authority than what they actually had.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother lecture. So where do we go from here?
That's the best way to explain of right where it started from. What I would say though is what really took place right when they came over here to Salem, Massachusetts. Now I know that Salem actually had two different areas. There was Salem Village, and then the other area, which was Salem, which was so there was two Salems in history. I know it's not on these footnotes, but it's in history books. But there's two different Salems altogether. So what we're going to be looking at though is Salem the Village. The reason why is because Salem, the county area, was more into shipping. It was more into the newer version. So we're looking back actually at Salem Village, which was back in the old set Bible way. Can you sort of explain what actually took place? Because your notes go with my notes. I have. Can you sort of explain of the children though that caused the damage, and what your version actually, what your thoughts are, why they actually did this?
Well, actually, I think it was they theorized. They don't have any real evidence, but the big theory was that there was a fungus that was attacking the rye, the wheat, and other cereal plants, and it can cause all kinds of delusion, symptoms, including delusions, vomiting, and muscle spasms, and all kinds of stuff like that. And for some reason, it does affect the children more than it did the adults, probably because as adults, you have a better resistance to it. And there were quite a few girls, young girls, but in particular, it was a young lady, 9 years old, and this was in January of 1962.
Oh,
Dyslexia here. 1692. And they began having fits and violent contortions, muscle spasms type thing, uncontrollable outbursts of screaming. And, today we'd just slap them up alongside the head type thing. No, we wouldn't. And it wasn't just them. There were other young ladies that were also, I think there was a total of like 20 of them that were involved. But 2 of them of note were 9-year-old Elizabeth Paris and 11-year-old Abigail Williams.
Yeah.
Who happened to be the daughter of the ministers of Salem, one of the ministers of Salem Village. And again, they were having these outbursts of violent contortions, screaming, fits. And of course, the doctor said, well, they're bewitched. And it's like, okay. And like I say, other girls in the village were also exhibiting this, which is why they trace it back to this fungus that was in all the cereals, which were stored but not in good situations. So yeah, something could take over. And it all culminated with the arrest of the Colombian.
Well,
I'm not.
No. Nowadays it would be Colombia, but back then it was not Colombia.
It was just a Caribbean slave, Tituba.
Yes.
And she claimed she took the 2 girls into the woods to teach them about herbs and helping do things like that. But of course, that's not how they all visited it. She was teaching them the ways of the witch. Because after all, these people from the Caribbean, they're pagans anyway. But there were 2 other women, and one was a homeless beggar, Sarah Good, and the other one was an poor elderly lady who I think she kind of lived by herself, named Sarah Osborne. And because of this, because of what was going on with the tuba, as well as this other thing going on with the girls, they accused these 2 women of bewitching them, and it went from there.
Yeah. Now the story also has it though that Tuba actually was teaching them. I forget what the actual name was, but it's an old thing though, and they still do it to date. Is you take a raw egg and you put it in water. Now with this water though, it's supposed to tell you what your husband's is supposed to be like. But the legend has it also though that the girls were taught by Tuba, is so that a coffin was actually shown. So the girls actually, that's one of the legends. The other thing though is that the girls started accusing everybody. And again, that was like what Gypsy Lady even turned around and said, though, that Tuba was accused, the first one accused. Now, Tuba was not penalized really bad. She was locked in jail, yeah, but not what legends has it. I'm going to ask you a question, Gypsy Lady. Now, were witches actually drowned?
Not in America, but they were in other places where they would dunk them in the water. And again, if they rose to the top, they were okay. If they rose to the top, they were okay. But if they sunk, they were witches. And it didn't help that they put rocks on their shoes or stuff to help them
drown.
Whatever.
Yeah. Now Now the other question. Sorry, I'll let you go on.
Well, the bad part of that is the fact that they were helping these women die, literally, because, same thing with, hanging was far better than the water torture, but they kind of hurried it all along, which it's one thing to kill someone, but
yeah,
not like that.
Now the other thing though is witches actually burnt at the stake over here in North America.
No, they weren't. That's a bad legend, that's just a legend that wanders around. No, that was a European thing. In particular, the French. The French love doing that. I don't know.
Okay.
I think back. What did they do to Joan of Arc?
They stoned her.
No, they burned her at the stake.
So.
Because she stepped outside that line that said, this is what women do, this is what men do. And she led men into battle. She did the whole thing. But she was accused of being a witch.
Yeah.
And she was burned at the stake. Like I say, that's a French thing. I don't know. The French are crazy anyway.
Yes. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come back and obviously talk about two different families so that also had something to do with this at that time period. We're going to be talking about the Peters and the Putnams, if I did pronounce the last name right. So we're going to talk about them right when we get back from this quick commercial break.
Freedom to be safe from gun violence. The freedom to make decisions about your own body. We choose a future where no child lives in poverty, where we can all afford health care, where no one is above the law. We believe in the promise of America, and we're ready to fight for it. Because when we fight, we win. And let's get to work. I'ma keep running because the winner don't quit on themselves.
This Christmas, why not shop with HauntingLIVE Podcast underneath their Etsy store? There's so much there, such as crystals, cleansing items, and way more items all together. Shop with HauntingLIVE Podcast, Etsy Canada.
16.
All right. So yes, there's a little clip there again. So yes, Wizard of Oz. So like a lot of people do think though that witches are like what's in that movie or to do with the Sanderson sisters altogether. Who knows? Underneath one of our upcoming podcasts, what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about what a real witch was back then in the time period actually of Salem, Massachusetts, compared to how witches are nowadays. But we're going to talk right now about the Potters, and the Putnams. Thank you. So there is actually claims so that the Potters once owned a dam, and the dam stream went over to the Putnams actually property. Now during this time period though that people are being called witches, and it's right when the start of this witch stuff started, the dam did break and it did flow actually into the Putnams field, since the field was right there. The Putnams actually turned around and they accused the Putnams family actually for causing damage. They were trying to sue them. So I wonder how things were back then for suing. Let's talk to the witch.
Well, they were nothing like they are today.
So yes.
It was very easy to accuse someone, especially if, again, it goes back to these roles that people had. This is male, this is female, this is man, this is woman type of a thing. And you stepped out of that line for whatever reason, you could be taken to trial.
Yeah.
That's how easy it was at that time. And I remember there was a trial kind of associated with the Salem ones. And this man decided this widow, who was very wealthy, didn't deserve her wealth, so he accused her of being a witch.
Yeah. So the Potters and Pottums, they did go to trial. Nothing came actually as of that. But the Pottums actually said, though, that the field was damaged and their abundance for survival was totally destroyed. Again, though, there's no more further claims of that. Altogether, it did cause a lot of tension between the families until they actually were working together and trying to get a new religious leader at that time for Salem Village. So yes, so that actually took place back right when Salem was actually all together. So there is a lot of history that we're going to be going through within the next while. Footnotes, though, that we actually have. And if you guys want to leave comments, and leave them in. If you guys know somebody that actually that's a witch, let us know exactly what type of witch they are, if they're a white witch or if they're a black witch. Now, the white witches are like Glenda from Wizard of Oz. The black witch is sort of like the witch from the West.
The witches that I know, they're all white. Even African American witches are white.
Yes.
Oh, I shouldn't have said that. That's
well,
so
no. They practice the white witch.
Yeah, I've known air quotes witches different witches over the years. Even a couple of warlocks thrown in there.
Yes.
Most of the time they do stuff for good.
Yeah.
I know one said, don't even ask about doing a curse or something. I don't do that. The karma's a bitch. You don't want to deal with the karma that comes back when you do something nasty to someone.
Yes.
And there's nothing like the Hollywood portrayal of witches, believe me. You would not know that they practice. And it's not so much that they're witches as that, but it's part of a religious thing. And that religion happens to be a pagan.
Yeah.
A paganistic religion, as opposed to a monotheistic Christian religion. But we can thank the Christians for vilifying witches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I've said this a couple of times over the time that we've done these podcasts. I took a class in anthropology in my anthro studies, and one of the first things, and this was can't even remember which one it was, but the professor was very good, and he said, think about it. When the Christians came into any particular area, if it wasn't Christian, they vilified it. And women who had equal power with men in a lot of the natural societies, because they're two parts of the same thing, or two parts of the same circle. And because they were equal, the Christians vilified them. And which is why we have kind of a bad impression of cats, because cats were very easily a part of their life. They knew how to use cats and dogs, and they were also vilified. So, that's what gave us the bad witches. Yeah.
Yeah. So underneath the next show, what we're going to do is we're going to start looking actually at Salem Witch trials, victims, how they were actually victims, and what some people turned around and said what they were to become witches. And also with this, so we're going to talk about one of the prayers, though, that people used to use to tell if you're a witch or not. This is a common prayer that's even said to date. So we will be talking about that. There's a lot of great stuff. And again, we're going to be talking about some of the people that have actually passed away by their names. If you do go down to Salem, Massachusetts, have you ever gone to Salem, Massachusetts?
Oh, I wish I could. I haven't been there yet.
That's
You?
like, no, I haven't. I would love to get down there. Because what they did, those at one location in Salem, Massachusetts, close to the Seven Gables house that's still standing from this time period. They do actually have a garden though that's there, and they have everybody's name that was hung. Since we do have the list of who was hung and who actually also passed away, so they actually have the stone of who was hung on each stone that's in there. Plus, also, I would love to go to the actual location right where the hangings were, which was not downtown area by Seven Gables house. So that's what I would love to do. I know a friend of mine went down there and she brought someone back from Salem.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I'll let Gypsy Lady sort of talk a little bit more about witch stuff to you guys, and I'll go and grab that little product since it's right on the shelf. So I'll pass it over to you.
Oh, what do you want to know about witchcraft?
Anything.
Well, the thing is, the witchcraft is usually associated with a paganistic background. So, of course, that vilified them right away, making them evil and no good. But, it's kind of interesting. Native Americans, indigenous people.
Yeah.
A lot of them were accused of I don't want to say witchcraft, but of dealing with the devil. But they used natural healing. They used plants. They were a part of nature. And, they were using what God gave them, if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah.
And it just didn't fit in with the ideas of Christianity. So therefore it had to be evil. And many medicine people, men and women, were killed because of that.
So, can you sort of see that?
What have we got here? Oh, a bottle. Salem Witch bottle. Where is it? Let me see the bottle. Oh, cool. And what's in the bottle?
So in the bottle, though, it's supposed to be actually the witch's bottle are full with herbs in there. There is some dirt from Salem, Massachusetts. It is sealed with wax. So the wax actually has it sealed. And what it says though is the witch's bottle keep heart and home safe from the disturb actually force of evil. So I'm sorry, I'm just laughing at Gypsy Lady Eva. So this is supposed to bring actually within the home some more positive to you. So this is what our go ahead. This is what my baby sister brought back.
Cool.
So yeah, I call her my baby sister, but she's a good friend.
It's very interesting. One of the cornerstones of Christianity is the Trinity.
Yes.
Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. And if you look at many of the paganists' beliefs, they also have trinities all over the place. And it's like, it's very interesting because it's like whatever you find in Christianity, you find in many other religions.
Yeah.
And at that time, they didn't look at it that way, which was very sad because people lost their lives over this. And it shouldn't be. And, you think even back to the Romans who, if you didn't, the Romans threw the Christians to the lions, but when, what was it? Was it Alexander? Or who converted to Christianity and deemed that the whole empire was to go to Christianity. And they were not nice to the pagans. They killed them off right and left. And I was like, that's a Christian? Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I get talking about
Sorry. So yeah, so underneath our next show, which will be on Saturday, we're going to be talking about Salem Witch trials. Again, we're going to be talking about more about what took place altogether. We're going to talk about with that, though, we're going to talk about some of the people that actually did take place within this, actually more or less to pop up. Even just lightly hit about it, but we're going to discuss more in detail of some of the more people altogether and why Salem is Salem. That's what we're going to be going for at the end. And we do say thanks a lot for tuning in. You guys have an awesome day and hopefully happy haunting.
Yes.